What is it about first days? There's nothing quite like the energy and excitement of the first day of a trip, whether it's just a weekend or going for the whole week. All the preparation is done, you've left work stress back in the office, and all that lies ahead is the promise of new sights, new discoveries, and the instantly relaxing notion of escaping the world's realities for a while and just letting nature be your news.
So Jason, do you know roughly how many miles we'll be doing on dirt here on this trip?
Roughly it's like 300 miles.
First days are electric and uplifting. The first day of a trip may in fact be the best day of a trip, unless you're me. What is it about my first days? This past summer, the exciting and uplifting first day of my Eastern Oregon Overland adventure went south, so to speak, when an unfortunate series of circumstances sent me on a wild goose chase across the southeastern Oregon desert, trying for hours to find my friends, until eventually I had no choice but to give up. What are the chances that on my second ever week-long overland expedition, something would again go awry on the very first day?
Hey Donald, I need to stop real quick. I just heard a big pop. I need to check it out.
Okay. You heard something?
Yeah, I've been in a major...
He cannot continue this voyage without some repair work.
We're gonna stop, make camp, clear our heads, and figure out what makes sense going forward. Here's our little camp. We're at the base of the hill. I'm gonna hike up there a little ways and see if I can get some cell service.
Jason and I are meeting back up right where we left off 3 weeks ago. We found a place to camp nearby. As we had two different first nights on the trail, we had two next mornings. They were each largely similar, with a cheery sunrise turning the desert plant life to shimmering gold. I guess I should explain what we're doing out here. This trip is a little more than just driving and camping in the backcountry. We have undertaken an ambitious expedition to travel more than halfway across the state, from the city of Bend all the way to the Alvord Desert, entirely via dirt roads across public lands. This trek is unrelated to the Oregon Backcountry Discovery Route network you may be familiar with. The route we are on was actually developed by Jason. Last year, he plotted this course and tested it out in segments at different times of the year and in different vehicles. This week, we are out here to run the entire route, beginning to end, which Jason has never done. In fact, as far as we know, no one has ever made, or at least documented, this particular voyage. Not a whole lot of significant features in the terrain out here, but I just love this mix of sort of prairie grass and sagebrush and juniper trees spotted here and there. Much of our trip will be an open desert with almost no trees to be seen, so we're taking the opportunity to collect some firewood now, as we've spotted some good deadfall to cut up. Jason's over there doing maintenance on his gas chainsaw. Meanwhile, I'm actually cutting firewood. Whatever. Some of these little back roads through the desert have a lot of exposed rock, and you just have to creep very, very slowly. It's been kind of a long, hard day on the trail, but we finally arrived at the Christmas Valley Dunes. Like the other dunes areas along the Oregon coast, street legal vehicles are permitted on the dunes, but an OHV permit is required on your rig, along with a flag. As much as this looks like and behaves like sand, it's actually not sand in the sense like when you go to the beach or go to the river. The sand at these dunes is made up of volcanic ash and pumice. and it actually came from the eruption of Mount Mazama 7,000 years ago. Mount Mazama, you may know better as Crater Lake. That was the original mountain that blew up, massive explosive eruption that spread debris for hundreds of miles and ash all the way around the world. And the mountain caved in on itself, and that's what formed Crater Lake. But this 11,000 acres of dunes, it is ash and pumice from Mount Mazama. Oh, that smells good. That probably doesn't look too fabulous on film because it's just like multiple shades of brown. Well, I could dump this out onto a plate for you, but that would just make one more dish to wash. I'm just gonna eat it right out of the pan.
Look at that moon coming up.
It's dawn, and the dunes are calling me. I didn't get to see quite enough during our brief sortie last night, so I'm going to wander a bit further while Jason is tending to some business in camp this morning. There are 11,000 acres of dunes out here, and I've still barely scratched the surface. I suppose eventually it may all start to look the same, but as I roam around, every new dune I see looks interesting in some new way, and I find myself wanting to drive up each one. The view from the crest of each dune, with just more and more dunes stretching away into the distance, reminds me of old movies of nomads crossing the Sahara. It has an exotic, otherworldly feel that is entirely different from the coastal dunes I have explored. What is it that's so intriguing about roaming roadless areas? Maybe part of it is some subconscious desire to break free of the various constraints imposed by life and society. Maybe part of it is just finding your own way instead of following the routes established by those who came before many generations ago. But you know what? I think part of it may simply be it's kind of like being a kid again, playing with toy trucks in the dirt, pushing them around wherever seems most fun, only now we get to actually sit inside our toys and drive. I can't dally too long out here as I still need to make breakfast and pack up my camp so we can proceed with our journey. But this has been a thoroughly enjoyable waypoint along the route, and I will definitely be back here one day to once again roam roadless. These pockets where the road is just inches of super fine ash. It's not like driving in sand and it's not like driving in mud. It's just got this weird consistency and it billows out, and I wanted to show you what it looked like, and I ended up with a mouthful of dirt out of that. So we are headed out through some really remote, wide, open desert. Just amazing vistas in every direction. We're actually headed to a sort of historical site, but it's not one that, you know, is pioneer days, 100 years old, that kind of thing. Just nothing but sagebrush as far as you can see. No trees, just sagebrush. But it smells good out here.
When you think about the deep, lush rainforests of Western Oregon, which really is not that far away, it's really a striking contrast. But I think that's part of what makes it so charming, is just that it's so different from home and really not that far out of reach.
We're almost at the end of this road, but the final climb is a little too rocky and rutted for the Subaru. It's proving to be a bit of a challenge for Jason's van as well. The remaining mile of this road is closed to motor vehicle traffic, so we'll be hiking the rest of the way. So this airplane, what's left of it, was a US Navy A6 Intruder, and it crashed out here in 1973 during a nighttime training flight. There's sort of a low area off in the distance there, and then there's a ridge line, and the pilot came in too low, unable to see the ridge line, impacted it right over there, and the plane literally disintegrated. There is debris everywhere out here, just for, I don't know, at least half a mile, and out in either direction. Every place you walk, every place you look, there's a piece of this plane. The entire wreckage was left out here as basically a memorial to the pilot. It's definitely a somber scene amidst all the stunning beauty out here. What is it about standing in a place where someone has met an untimely demise? I think it goes beyond simply paying respects. I think it triggers a far more personal moment of contemplation of one's own inevitable passing. As sentient, conscious beings with an awareness of our own mortality, coming face to face with hard evidence that our time on this beautiful planet could end, really, at any unexpected moment, reminds us to embrace the life we've been given, find ways to relish the time that we have, and appreciate those we love who enrich our lives and make our time here a little more enjoyable. The incredible just vastness of the spread of debris really attests to how violent the impact must have been. I will admit I'm at a little bit of a loss for how to present this. I'm not here to exploit what happened out here. This is just another piece of the history in the Eastern Oregon desert. You find cabins that are 100 years old, you find artifacts that are thousands of years old from Native Americans, people who lived and died out in this vast desert. I can't presume to know the thoughts of the fighter pilot and his navigator, who certainly died instantly on impact out here on this remote desert ridgeline. But I have to think they assumed they would be back home that night, enjoying moments with the people in their lives they loved and cherished. Sites like this not only pay tribute to the brave souls who perished, but also serve as solemn reminders to savor the moments we have with family and friends who are still with us. Night had fallen by the time we returned to our vehicles. We've had a long day that started before sunrise, so we're just going to get camp set up, eat something simple, and get some rest. It's a cold, cold morning, and as usual, we're up before dawn, so we've got a fire going while we wait for the sun to get up and join us. Asked for a better send-off from our visit to the A6 site. Time to head off across the desert on the next leg of our expedition.
Just incredible out here. Just unbelievable terrain, unbelievable topography. And look at this very plain, simple gravel road we're driving down. Anyone could come out here and visit these areas. We've sort of left the endless sagebrush behind and got into just some extensive sort of prairie grassland sort of area with just golden grasses stretching off into the hills. It's just beautiful.
Well, the prairie soon gave way to more sagebrush, but it's still lovely out here. Tonight, we'll be camping at the base of that high ridge line you see in the distance, and tomorrow, we'll be driving right on up and over it. Along the way, we found a historical site, though it's not quite homesteading pioneer era. This is part of what used to be Camp Hart Mountain, a civilian conservation corps project dating to the late 1930s when they were establishing the Hart Mountain Antelope Refuge.
I almost never have to stake down this tent in any way, shape, or form, but there's a pretty good breeze coming across there. So I'm gonna go ahead and put 2 stakes just on this side just to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. Yeah, it occurred to me I should just move the car from there over to here. Gives me a wind block for the tent.
Sometimes you think you're alone, but you're not alone.
What is it about camping next to water? It seems to be a universal preference for people everywhere to camp next to a creek, river, or lake, even if we have no intention of using that water in any way. Is it some vestigial instinct that lies within each of us? I wonder if, on some primordial level, we feel comforted being next to water, even if we don't really need it. It's rare to find a campsite next to water in the desert, and this will be the only night of this entire trip where we'll have the opportunity. What a lovely oasis amidst the dusty, arid expanses of sagebrush.
But it's a little bit higher. It's going to be a little bit higher tomorrow.
Well, I give up. It's 5 in the morning. I wouldn't mind sleeping for another hour, but the wind has just been going all night, and I've had enough of it. I got up, got everything packed up and ready to go into the car. Took care of a little work with some memory cards and some other things. So it was good productive time this morning. And we're just waiting for that sun to come up. I don't think we were expecting this.
So I moved the car yet again so that I could sort of get some protection. The wind is coming from that direction and blowing the rain in. I can't set up the awning because there's just too much wind. So I'm gonna make some coffee and some breakfast and go sit back in the tent. Just trying to get my coffee made, I got soaked. Even moving the car around, the wind shifted a bit, the rain is just blowing in sideways. Everything got wet, especially me. It's really nice having this space to get into when the weather is bad. Back when I was just sleeping in the car, I would have had no choice but to basically just sit in the driver's seat. Here, I can get up, move around, do stuff, run my little heater. Could be worse. Well, just hanging out in the van with Jason and waiting to see how the morning develops here a little bit. Well, it's funny because we got here yesterday and it was like 75 degrees out. And now look what we've got here. We were not expecting this. First little part of the road we're driving on basically lake bed mud, and it is slippery when wet. So I went ahead this morning and aired my tires down even lower. I took them all the way down to 15 since we'd be dealing with some mud and some snow. just can't get over how incredibly beautiful it is. Just every rise is like unleashes a new vista that's just blown me away.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. Now you're starting to see why I get excited about this part of the trip.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was impressed before, but now I'm just like, oh, I'm at a loss for words.
This is by far the most extensive and best preserved abandoned homestead I've ever encountered in my backcountry travels. There is no comparison to the tiny, crumbling cabins I usually stumble across. We'll spend more time later taking a closer look around the site, and we'll talk a bit about its history. For now, we're going to get camp set up and see what else is out there to find in the sagebrush. No cooking tonight, just a simple salad of arugula, some blue cheese crumbles. I've got some toasted hazelnuts and pecans on there, and on the side some blackberries and some French saucisson. Fast and easy.
Last night was one of the coldest that we've had on the entire trip.
but I actually slept really, really well. Possibly because I hadn't slept so well the past few nights. I got a lot of hours of sleep. I feel super refreshed and energized. Let's see what it looks like out there.
Inside it to kind of get some angle, but being up here on top of the van is giving me that vantage point that I was looking for last year.
Well, we were hoping for a nice, colorful sunrise this morning, but with the snow instead, still not bad. What do you think?
Oh, I think for me, since I've kind of been here before with beautiful sunrises and sunsets, the snow is a real nice change.
What is it about stepping back in time? Why is it so universally compelling to contemplate the lifestyles of those who lived and toiled in a different era? I suppose we gain a renewed appreciation for the comforts and conveniences of modern life, but I wonder if, on some level, there's not some subconscious, wistful longing to return to a simpler time when we were more closely connected to the earth and to our environment, and the struggles and successes that came with it.
Well, pretty much all of the ranching you see out in these parks these days is cattle ranching. This ranch was actually a horse ranch.
This ranch site was originally homesteaded in 1881 and was purchased by David Shirk in 1883. It remains known as the Shirk Ranch to this day.
The brothers who ran this ranch did have a cattle ranch over in the next valley. Established in the late 1800s, it actually operated as a ranch up into the 1940s.
This is now all BLM land and is a protected site listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Anyone is welcome to visit the homestead, but the buildings and artifacts must be left undisturbed.
on some rough, rocky desert roads. It's a little harder to see exactly where the obstacles are because of the snow. I've hit a few rocks that were hidden and I just couldn't judge quite how big they were. But we are just creeping. It doesn't even register on the speedometer. This rocky climb just ahead is right where Jason popped a tire on his trailer last time he made this trip. It looks like nothing the Subaru can't handle. Maybe a few big rocks I'm gonna have to be careful of, but we'll just ease our way up and hopefully the snow won't make things any more difficult than it needs to. Man, there are a lot of sharp, spiky rocks on this road, and who knows what's hiding underneath the snow. In the video, you're just gonna see a handful of seconds of this drive across this vast, open, treeless, not even any sagebrush. Miles and miles. This has taken a chunk of the morning, but I am loving every minute of it. I know I keep saying this, but...
I think we got horses up ahead.
Oh. The handful of wild horses on the horizon are a bit out of reach of my lens, but nearer to us, we've also spotted a nice herd of pronghorn.
Presumably, we can see for miles and miles and miles here, but we're up at about 6,500 feet. We're up in the cloud, and instead we can see for, yards and yards. must be pretty gorgeous when everything is in sort of full color, blue sky, and the grass is golden and the sagebrush sort of with its pale green. But it's definitely interesting under the snow as well. Starting to see some breaks, a little bit of blue sky there in the distance. Every single hour of every single day just keeps getting better and better and better. I can't believe this trip. I can't believe it. We have stopped because Jason is out of gas. Fortunately, he's carrying some extra gasoline. I'm getting low, but I'm thinking maybe I'll manage to get through. We'll see what happens. We still have a ways to go yet.
We've got one last climb. On the other side of this range, we'll make our final descent down towards the Alvord. We'll be cresting this pass at 6,300 feet, but looks like not much snow has made it this far east across the desert, so the driving conditions are looking quite good. What is it about finding your way across the backcountry? Perhaps the actual destination matters less than the journey. Isolated in remote wilderness, disconnected from modern life, your mind is free to appreciate incredible vistas that almost no one sees and contemplate the hardy souls who long ago traversed these lands by far more primitive means. Travel of any sort is a worthy and enjoyable pursuit, but there is something particularly satisfying about doing so via dirt roads across desolate expanses where there is no one and nothing for miles in every direction. One final shot of the stunning scenery surrounding us, and a final departure from camp. As an amazing week of discovery, collaboration, and camaraderie comes to a close, a final goodbye as we head off in separate directions. It is time to air up and head home.